All right. So as we were talking about Bitcoin Core versus Bitcoin Cash. So the two camps. All right. You have Bitcoin Core who had the benefit of the Bitcoin brand that Satoshi started, and yeah, then over time it's gone down a different path whereby now the reason why people are investing into Bitcoin is because of its potential growth power and its store of value. However, store of value or the value in general came as a result of the promise of Bitcoin being used as peer-to-peer cash. All right, so the future is still open in terms of whether BTC will continue to be the dominant player in the cryptocurrency space, or if another player, Bitcoin Cash, could be somebody else, may come and kind of steal a lot of the hash power. And if you tuned into the previous sermons, hash power is essentially the metric that's used to measure the amount of energy that goes into mining, Bitcoin mining. All right. And in order for the Bitcoin network to stay alive, um, then there's a certain amount of hash power that is required. And so if there's no hash power, then what will happen is essentially a lot of people will start selling. Transaction fees will go higher, and the money starts getting transported to other places whereby the mining power is more profitable. So what is expected with Bitcoin Cash compared to Bitcoin Core is that over time, Bitcoin Cash, because it is being used as peer-to-peer electronic cash, like it has utility and it can actually be used for day-to-day commerce. That's what its intention always was. There is the belief that this over time will overrule just the simple store of value aspect that Bitcoin Core has at the moment, or that bubble that a lot of people are talking about will pop for Bitcoin Core. And there are arguments made that the folks who are currently working on Bitcoin Core are not necessarily holistic thinkers. No, I'll take that back. They're not necessarily economists or understand the money side. That they're the dev core team. They're just thinking in purely logical mathematical terms. And even though the Bitcoin network is built on that, and in cryptography we trust, that's one of the mottos. The aspect of money is something that's of concern over time. All right, and for me personally, I do feel that yeah, BTC is going down a very dangerous path whereby its value may pop or drop drastically because they're holding onto simply its brand name alone. And time will tell in terms of what will happen. But I'm a strong, firm believer in Bitcoin Cash being able to hold its weight in the long term, because Bitcoin Cash is a fork that took place in August, and it is holding truer to the original vision of Satoshi's Bitcoin. And so currently our mission with Bitcoin Cash is to help with the adoption of Satoshi's Bitcoin, which is currently Bitcoin Cash, globally to 5 billion users. All right. And the Bitcoin Will Come group is dedicated to that, but it's also dedicated to educating and supporting people in a positive, healthy manner around the entire ecosystem, just so that you guys don't have to get scammed, don't have to get fooled, or can make decisions for yourself, all right, so that you're more educated. So even with what I'm saying here, please question me on it as well. Drill me on it. Because as I'm sharing, I'm also, even though I have a strong belief based on the knowledge that I have around Bitcoin Cash, I also want to validate why I believe so strongly in Bitcoin Cash as well, right? Because I don't have all the answers. I'm trusting both the knowledge that I have and also my gut. And in my life, my gut has usually treated me quite well. However, that isn't always enough. And it's important when it comes to wealth, money, these sort of things, that we don't just use that alone. We've got to have a balance of both sides. So with the Bitcoin Cash side, there were things that were happening recently called difficulty adjustments. And a lot of people, and they're also known as DAs, right? And people are asking, okay, what's a difficulty adjustment and why does it matter? So a difficulty adjustment occurs or takes place when the Bitcoin network gets to a point that it's easier for the CPUs or the machines that are keeping the network going to solve the mathematical equations that are required to get rewarded in Bitcoin. All right. So when it hits a point where it's too easy by design, the Bitcoin system or network increases its difficulty through a difficulty adjustment, so that it's actually harder for people to mine Bitcoin easily. All right. So of course, more miners come on, there's more hash power, there's more processing power to be able to calculate the answers to these complex equations, and that by design ensures that nobody can ever get lazy in the Bitcoin network. That in order to stand still, you have to always keep moving. So this is why the miners are constantly having to upgrade their systems, constantly have to work and move forward. They can't ever rest on their laurels. And this may go up until all 22 million Bitcoin coins are actually mined. And I think they're expecting that to take place by around 2050. All right. So also, if you're not familiar with the Bitcoin Cash fork and what happened in that instance, essentially everybody who owned Bitcoin on August 1st, when the Bitcoin Cash chain split off and created its own thing, an extra 22 million Bitcoin Cash coins were also created. All right. So a lot of people did sell their Bitcoin Cash tokens and reinvested back into Bitcoin, which is fine. But at the same time, that is what caused a lot of concern for people who were like, how is this money being made? Is it just being made out of thin air? In a way, yes, but it is meant to be backed by this scarcity model, which is a fundamental element in terms of ticking off what makes for sound money. It has to be scarce, it has to be fungible, it has to be durable, it has to be transportable, and a few other elements. And Bitcoin does tick off many of those things. Now, going back even to that, the checklist of what makes sound money. Gold is very well known to be sound money, and it has been for centuries. But Bitcoin, BTC, Bitcoin Core, is starting to lose that because of these high transaction fees that have been taking place. And Bitcoin Cash promises to have those much lower transaction fees and enable the vision of Satoshi, which is essentially where Bitcoin could be used to help provide financial sovereignty for the billions around the world who are still unbanked. Now, there are a lot of arguments against this, saying, well, you still need an internet connection, or you still need to own some technology. All those who are unbanked, probably, too poor to be able to even afford any technology. And those are valid arguments. But it's also, because his vision is so large, and because his vision goes beyond just the West, and goes beyond just the desire to make more money, those who were in it in the beginning for those aims, that's what got Bitcoin to where it is today. Of course, now as we get more people who are looking at easy money, way of the world, that's why a lot of MLMs do continue to survive, no matter how annoyed we get with them. That is something that, may not last forever as a money system, if that's what we're really looking at. And the other element to this that a lot of people aren't aware of is that the more you get involved in the cryptocurrency world, the more you'll learn about how there's a lot of infighting between different cryptocurrencies, and the real war, if you want to call that, or the real battle originally was meant to be Bitcoin versus Visa, MasterCard. All right. And a lot of people aren't aware of this. So the Bitcoin Cash guys, they're looking at that battle. And that was what the original Bitcoin battle was. Whereas Bitcoin Core, we're not sure what that vision is anymore. There's a lot of technical advancements and upgrades that are coming that people are getting excited about. But for the Bitcoin Cash folks, at least for those who really believe in Bitcoin Cash or Satoshi's Bitcoin, we believe in a vision that moves far beyond just any sort of technical improvements or far beyond any ways to just make more money. And, you look at a lot of companies who have strong visions. Those are the ones that survive. And when a company loses its vision or its way, you end up seeing what happens, right? And so this is one of the reasons, once again, why I personally support Bitcoin Cash, because it holds a lot of the same elements that Bitcoin Core had in the early days. But it has the benefit of learning things from Bitcoin Core, what went well, what didn't. And now, but it's not shackled anymore by that community, I guess if you want to call it that. So now, this is where if you're somebody who doesn't really care about the politics, doesn't care about the vision, and you are just wanting to make money, you can do what a lot of investors do, which is, you diversify, you spread your money across multiple cryptocurrencies, and, you just sit pretty on them, and you could still make your gains, right? You wouldn't have to know as much about each of the technical details for any cryptocurrency. But if you are willing to go down the rabbit hole of the key cryptocurrencies that are in the market, and I would say that includes Bitcoin Core, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, top three. All right. If you go to coinmarketcap.com, that will show you the market cap for each of the cryptocurrencies. And if you think of Bitcoin Cash, if it was simply an altcoin, it wouldn't have hit top three as quickly as it has. Within the last couple months, it has really made some strides, and it's going to continue to make even more strides. And my prediction is that around February, March is where we'll see some really interesting things. I think there'll be some more spikes, but even now, as Bitcoin Core has made its way to the $9,000 mark, which is great, I think, in general for the cryptocurrency ecosystem as a whole. Bitcoin Cash has managed to maintain its stability after the difficulty adjustments have been taking place recently. Usually what you would see is if one cryptocurrency goes up, the other cryptocurrencies kind of move down, and because you're seeing transfer of money or more money going into one more so than the other. But Bitcoin Cash really is doing a dance with Bitcoin Core. And this is just, for me personally, a very interesting space to watch. I have and am investing a lot in it, both in terms of promoting it and also, so these are the biases I was talking about. These are my biases. As I always say, do your own research, all right? Because I believe, in the vision, and I also have the knowledge to back up my belief. That's why I continue to support it, because I think it has a real chance of surviving longer term. All right, but the point of these sermons is to just share some of this knowledge for all of you, so you can learn a little bit more, and also to ask questions as you have them. The other things, so I should probably also give an update on things that have happened during the week. So let me take you through some screen shares or screenshots. All right. So I'm just going to share that screen. All right. I think you should be able to see that now. All right. So let's go to CoinMarketCap. I wonder if you can see my Twitter too. All right, cool. So this is the CoinMarketCap for Bitcoin Cash. Okay, so this is what I'm kind of constantly looking at. And for those of you who are late to the party, you see this huge spike here? This happened about 2 to 3 weeks ago. And essentially the Bitcoin Cash token or price went from about 450, and I'm using Australian dollars, 450 Australian dollars to about 2,500 Australian dollars in a single weekend. Actually, it might have been a single Sunday. So a lot of people who were lucky enough to invest before then made some huge gains, and if they wanted to sell and they did, well, they made their profit, their tidy profit. But I've also been telling folks about what I've been doing. Remember, this is not financial advice, but because I'm more of a long-term type of person, I'm holding even more so because that $2,500 price is just going to be very small, minuscule compared to its potential value over the next, say, 1 or 3 years. Remember, Bitcoin Cash has only been up for about 3 to 4 months now, so it's a toddler compared to the 8-year-old Bitcoin Core. Now let's have a look at Bitcoin Core. All right, so Bitcoin Core has made it to the $9,000 mark, and I think if we combined Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Core, together, we'd be at around $11,000, right? If we're looking at the market cap and the amount of money that is invested in both, we'd be about 11,000. So as you can see here, looking at this over long term, it's going from strength to strength. Okay. Now remember, this is all time. All right. Say if we look at the last 3 months compared to Bitcoin Cash as well. Okay. So this is what the last 3 months have looked like for Bitcoin itself. Okay. Bitcoin Core. So, if you put your money into both, it could still be fine. But remember, I'm sharing this with you just as a preempt as to what could possibly happen in the future. And that's not to say that Bitcoin Core won't continue to rise. This is just, once again, more to do with sort of changing directions and the original Satoshi vision. All right, so that is Bitcoin Core, Bitcoin Cash. And as you're going through, let's see if I can bring up my Twitter. This is a little bit about the politics side. Let's see if Twitter will come up. I'm not sure if you can see my Twitter. Yeah, I don't think you can, so I'm just going to come back. All good, all good. So, I mean, essentially on the Twitter side, my way of getting a feel for signals in the Bitcoin space as to what to do and when to do it, I actually kind of get a feel for the sentiment of the different cryptocurrencies. And the way that I will feel those things out is by listening on the chatter of the conversation. If things have gone down, have gotten quiet on a particular cryptocurrency, I go, okay, this is a down period. Might be a time to buy, or things are going lower. As the chatter increases for a particular coin, then I pay attention, and I said, okay, either something may be coming up, or it's on the rise. And using that, and then also using my knowledge of upcoming technologies. So for me, in particular, let's go look for N-Chain. There are two companies that, for Bitcoin Cash at least, that I look at in terms of upcoming technologies. One is N-Chain and the infamous Dr. Craig Wright. The infamous Craig Wright also. Great. My connection is not private. Isn't that great security? Okay, you know what? We're not going to even bother with that because my internet is not having fun with me today. But N-Chain and ABC Unlimited is another group that I sort of read up their papers on. And they're good for getting an idea on the technologies that are coming up. And then also if you just pay attention to the influencers, if you pay attention to the influencers in this space, that will allow you to get an idea as to what's coming up. Or what a lot of people do is they join, private groups where you're leveraging off of the wisdom of the crowd. So, you have a whole bunch of people doing their own research, and then they'll share their summaries. We have that type of group for more advanced users, or those who, get the whole Bitcoin blockchain space, have some skin in the game, have been doing it for a little while. And that group is called the BWC Disciples. And there are a lot of Bitcoin Cash supporters, but not everybody in it. So with that, that's a little bit about Bitcoin versus Bitcoin Cash. Hopefully what I've explained has helped to help you to understand the differences between the two. Remember, using that analogy of the Catholics versus the Protestants, that analogy usually seems to work for a lot of people. And the Satoshi white paper, the Bible. All right? And, oh man, it'd be bad to say Satoshi is God. But, yeah, remember, entertainment purposes only, guys, using those analogies. We do have already a Bitcoin Jesus in Roger Ver. He was actually nicknamed Bitcoin Jesus. But that aside, this space can be very lucrative for those who do their research, but it's so important for us as a community to also share the things that aren't working. No worries, Greg. But yeah, it is also very important for us to share with each other the things that are working or have burned them and learn from each other's experiences. Folks have been talking a lot about how it's very easy to get sucked into this and not know what you're doing. And that's exactly right. So we also recommend, folks to only ever invest money that you can afford to lose. And that's general investing advice. This is not official financial advice. But this is kind of what you just talk to people about when you're, at work or you happen to strike up a conversation about cryptocurrencies, which is becoming more and more these days. But that's something that you need to always be sure you take care of, and to control your emotions when you're getting involved in this crypto world. I, for one, have gotten swept up by the emotions sometimes, and it's important to just kind of step back and be grounded, stay grounded. All right. But with that, that is essentially today. That ends today's sermon around Bitcoin versus Bitcoin Cash. I hope you found it useful. If you are finding this content great, or if you're finding this community supportive and helpful, we do have a Bitcoin Cash address right there. So there's a QR code. All right. If you've set up your wallet and you've been transacting, I hope you have been transacting with your coins. You can send or donate however much you want to that QR code, or if you need the actual wallet address for donations, they're right there. But that concludes today's sermon. Hope you enjoyed it. If there are other things you'd like to learn, please just share away in the group, and I will use that as a way to form future sermons. Now, I know we do have about 7 minutes because these run between half an hour to 45 minutes. So for the sake of this video, while you're still on, I may actually go to the group and address some of the other questions that were asked during the week, because they were good ones. All right, so just give me 1 second. 1 second, 1 second. All right, so we're going through here. Overstock. Bubble territory, great. Invest, bullish at the moment. This question here. Do you know the difference between an exchange and a wallet? I thought the answers that were given to this question were great. And I always try to look for the community to answer these type of questions before I step in, because there's a lot of wisdom in groups. And then I added mine at the end. But I think the best one was the store and home analogy from Pete Malloy. So it said, I like to think of the exchange like a store and a wallet as his home. I like to buy things at the store, but I would rather take them home after buying them rather than trust a store to keep them for me. Now, interestingly enough, in our current day society, we do actually put our trust in the stores. The stores being potentially those banks, central banks, and cryptocurrencies, or Bitcoin in particular, was meant to take that out of the equation so that you would have more control and financial sovereignty over your own money. All right, but the trust would come in the cryptography, in the network itself. Now, these are the idealistic components that has pushed Bitcoin forward. But essentially, what is being put there, the difference between a wallet and exchange, that's exactly right. A lot of people confuse the exchange as the wallet. So they'll buy money from the exchange and then hold it there, and there have been some horrific stories about folks losing their money because the exchange got hacked. Now, then after that, sometimes people will then go, oh, Bitcoin is unsafe, or this cryptocurrency is not unsafe because my money got stolen. But actually, the issue was they confused a wallet with an exchange. So the exchanges have no obligation to hold your stuff safely, even if they talk about wallet. And I personally that is something that is great for holding multiple cryptocurrencies. So use that, and remember that you want to hold your cryptocurrency keys yourself. All right, there are backup mechanisms so that you don't ever potentially lose them. But no, with every single backup mechanism, it also means it's possible for someone to find it, and if they find it, then they can get your funds. So really, there's always a way for stuff to be stolen from you. All right, but it's all a matter of you doing your own research, um, making sure that you do the right thing based on your research, and talk to others about how to secure your funds and your wealth as well. These are things that will help you if you grow your wealth over time. It will be useful for you, and you can then educate other people as well. And for those who haven't been in the investing world ever, right? This gives you a chance and opportunity to experience what it's like before you go into the big leagues as well. And as you do better, I hope that you share and you give with others. You educate, you support as well. If you don't, that's up to you as well. But that's definitely my goal, is that as I do more and more in my life, do want to give back, help support others, give where I can as well. And the real, I think, benefit of this whole Bitcoin, Satoshi's Bitcoin vision, is that it's meant to help the 2.5 billion unbanked around the world that live outside the West. So us as Westerners, as we do better, we should look at our other fellow human beings. All right. So that's that. Great question, Mark. Thanks for tuning in. Do BTC and BCH get held in the same wallet or separately? Greg, that is a great question. Okay, so this has been part of the problem as well. So technically, BCH and BTC both share the same Bitcoin blockchain address types. Okay, so there have been, I've already experienced this, right? Where I actually sent Bitcoin Core funds, so BTC funds, to a BCH wallet address, and then I lost it. Luckily, I didn't completely lose it. I just had to do something that was a bit more technical and manual in order to retrieve my Bitcoin Cash funds. So at the moment, they share the same address, but wallets that have done their due diligence and done it well, they give you the option to have two different wallets for Bitcoin Core BTC and then Bitcoin Cash BCH. So as long as you're ensuring that when you're copying your addresses from the different wallets, that you're copying the right one, then you shouldn't have problems. But there's stuff that's going to be coming out soon, Greg, which will ensure that this is called like replay protection. So you don't have issues again where if you accidentally send a Bitcoin Core fund over to a Bitcoin Cash address, that with the replay protection or with the upgrades, that it'll actually be like, oh, you can't send that to that address because it's a Bitcoin Cash address. Right now, they're kind of validating them both as Bitcoin because technically they both are Bitcoin. All right, so that's where the confusion is. But they're doing things that are going to enable us to be able to not get that confused before. So this goes back to the politics again. There are two camps. Camps are also saying Bitcoin Cash is a true Bitcoin and it can take over the Bitcoin ticker. Other people you should keep it separate so that it's not being muddied. But this is what happens when you have human beings, right? And you have ideological differences. So it's one to watch, one to be aware of, and one to just keep yourself adaptable as things change, because this is the Wild West territory and days of the cryptocurrency market. So, Greg, I hope that answered your question, if you're still there. All right, and I'll just quickly see if there's any other questions from the week that were good. And they were, there were some good questions. Angie, great, cool. Good to see you on, Angie. So Angie, I'm just looking at some of the questions from the week and sharing the answers with those right now in the video while I still have people on. So just gonna go to the Facebook group. BitConnect. This is another one. Guys, I've been doing some research as well on BitConnect, and there's a guy who I mentioned a lot. His name is Cliff High, and he does something called predictive linguistics. And he uses data to make his predictions, and he's quite accurate on them. But he predicts, actually, that those who are involved with BitConnect are going to have a huge fallout in the new year. And it will create a bit of a crater in the Bitcoin ecosystem. But in the long term, it will, obviously it will be like a blimp. But for those who are involved with BitConnect, please be careful. I would suggest, if you've made some tidy profits, that you look to getting them out soon, or at least before end of February. All right. And remember, everything you do is up to you. You're an adult. This is not official financial advice. This is more just care. But yeah, it has been predicted by Cliff High that there may be a huge fallout around that time next year. So yeah, please be careful. Bitcoin Cash and Ethereum. Bitcoin Cash and Ethereum, it's very interesting because Ethereum, the founder of Ethereum, Vitalik, he had his opinions about Bitcoin Cash, guys, but now it seems like Bitcoin Cash and Ethereum are kind of buddying up. Not against Bitcoin Core, but they becoming a little bit more friendly. The communities that surround them, they're becoming a little bit more friendly with each other. And yeah, to be honest, I do like Ethereum, and I also do like Satoshi's Bitcoin. So those are some interesting developments. Talked about Exodus, highly recommended. I think there was another question about independent reserve. So for those who are in Australia, independent reserve is one of the more popular. They're one of the more popular exchanges. So remember what we were talking about before in terms of the exchanges. Yeah, they're one of the more popular ones. They have low fees. It's only 0.5%. So highly recommend you use them if you're looking to buy Bitcoin or Ethereum or any of the other cryptocurrencies. And then if you're looking to trade, you can keep it in there if you want. Or if you're going to be buying and holding, remember to pull it out and put it into one of your wallets and keeping it there safe and sound as much as possible. All right, but yeah, that concludes. I think that should be enough. Are there any other questions from folks who are watching now? And if not, we'll wrap it up and end it there. Okay, guys, thanks for tuning in. And remember, patience and persistence, it will come. Wish you all the best and see you in the group. Bye for now.